Jai Tosi Maharani. So today is a very special day on the Vaishnav calendar, and it's the commemoration of the disappearance day of two personalities, specifically Srila Jiva Goswami and Jagadish Pandit. And we're going to be speaking about these two personalities today. First, because it is the disappearance day or days, we're going to chant the prayers to the departed Vaishnavas, known as Saparshada Goda Viraha Vilapa by Srila Narottamadas Thakur. Jayanilo Prematana Koruna Prachur Lo Premadana Koruna Prachur Jayanilo Premadana Koruna Prachur Yanilo Premadana Koruna Prachur Henu Prabhu Kota Gela Jarya Thakur Henu Prabhu Kota Gela Jarya Thakur Kahamora Saruprupa Kaha Sanatakan Amora Saruprupa Kahadasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Hadasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Komura Bhatta Juga Kaha Kaviragas Ekakale Gota Gela Gora Naturas Kale Gota Gela Gora Natara Pashone Kutibo Mata Ananle Pasibo Ashane Kutibo Mata Anale Pasibo Goranga Gunera Nete Kotak Gele Pabo Goranga Ranide Kota Gele Papa Se Sabas Sangira Sange Ye Koilo Vilas Sangira Sange Se sanga nakai yakande narotamoda sanga napaya kande narotamoda Se sanga napaya kande Narotamoda has Napaya Kande Narotamodas Jehanilo Premadana Koruna Pracho Nilo Premadana Koruna Pracho Jaya Jaya Thakur Jaya Thakur Jaya Jaya Thakur Jaya Jaya Thakur Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chalana the Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Jai Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Friends, say Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadwaita Gadadhar Shivasli Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sayam Makunda Radhakunda Kiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuranam Ki Jai Jagadada Swami Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Shrimati Vilasdevi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari. All glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharni Devashesha, Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatari. So we will read the translation. You brought the treasure of divine love, and it was filled with compassion and mercy. Where is such a personality as Srinivasa Acharya gone? Where am I Svarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where am I Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of his devotees, these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottama Das simply weeps. So, Om Ganat Timiranda Shah Gananjana Shilakaya Chakshur Unmiritam yena tasmai Shigurave namaha. So as I mentioned, today is the commemoration of the disappearance day, or days, of two great personalities, Srila Jiva Goswami and Jagadish Pandit. So first we're going to speak about Srila Jiva Goswami. And of course we know that Srila Jiva Goswami is one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan who dedicated their lives out of compassion, Nana Shastra Vichar, and Aikanipano Dharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarno Tribhuvane Vanyosharanyakaro. So in other words, they dedicated their lives. Basically, their main service was perusing, that means studying, all the bona fide literatures, Nana Shastra, Vicharanaika Nipano, to establish Sadharma Samstapako. Sadharma means eternal religious principles. In other words, things that are applicable every time, place, circumstance. So sometimes you find certain principles or details, we'll call them more details, that are applicable in certain cultures. It may not be applicable in other cultures. But the Goswamis define those details, such as, not those principles, such as chanting the Lord's holy names, accepting a spiritual master, and other things like that. And especially Srila Jiva Goswami was the most erudite of all the scholars, practically since time immemorial, except for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I'm going to start by reading a verse from the Bhakti Ratnakara that glorifies Srila Jiva Goswami. It's a beautiful verse. And then we'll talk a little bit about his biography and his teachings and his writings. So this verse goes as follows. Shri Rupa Charanadvanda Ranganam Rajavarshanam Shri Jivam Satatam Bande Mandeshwanandadainam. So the translation is, I offer my repeated obeisances unto Srila Jiva Goswami, whose heart is constantly attracted to the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami was his guru. He is the crest jewel of all Brajavasis, and due to his causeless mercy, he bestows unimaginable joy to even the non-philosophical, dull-headed, and lazy people by his deep philosophical views. Beautiful verse. So now we'll talk about the life of Srila Jiva Goswami and his teachings. So he appeared in this material world approximately, because some of the biographers have a different date, in the year 1513, and he left this world in the year 1598. And so when he appeared with a golden complexion. He had all the signs of a Mahapurusha. And not only the golden complexion, but the, as we often describe, the eyes that were like lotus petals going out to the ears, and the arms that were so long he could touch his knees when he's standing up. And so there's all these different proportions. So he was born into an illustrious family. His father's name was Sri Vallabha, who was the brother of Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis. And all these three brothers, they were employed in the service of Nawab Hussain Shah. And of these three brothers, and they were all married, there was only one descendant, one child. And that child was Srila Jiva Goswami. And they were residing in a place called Ramakeli. That may appear to be a familiar place to you because that's where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Rupa and Sanatan and Vallabha for the first time. So it's described that their household life Rupa, Sanatan, and Ballabha, and of course Jiva as a little baby, was very, very opulent because, as we heard, when Rupa Goswami left and he took sannyas or he left his job, he had boatloads of gold coins. And, gold coins, boatloads. And so they were extremely wealthy. They gave up all this to serve Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at one point, as we mentioned before, came to Ramakeli. And when he came to Ramakeli, Jiva Goswami was a little baby. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, recognizing Srila Jiva Goswami's position, future, mission, he put his feet on Srila Jiva Goswami's head. And he understood that he was going to be a great preceptor. So from that point onwards, Srila Jiva Goswami was always meditating upon, even though he was a baby when he first saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, still the impression was so great that Jiva Goswami was meditating upon the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, eventually his father and his uncles left to join Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. And Jiva Goswami was left alone with his mother. Of course, I'm sure there's a whole village there. It wasn't just quite alone, but his mother was his primary caretaker. And many things he did indicated his future position. For example, he fashioned Krishna Balaram deities, which means Krishna Balaram is non-different from Shishi Gaur Nitai, and he worshipped these deities. He fashioned them himself, I guess out of clay or something like that. And he was also given Radha Krishna deities. And continually he was dreaming of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda. Eventually, the separation he was feeling from his father and his uncles was too great. When he got a little older, obviously. And then he left Ramakeli, and he went to Navadvip to see Lord Nityananda. And Navadvip, he met Lord Nityananda at Srivas Thakur's house, and Lord Nityananda took him to see Sachi Mata. And Sachi Mata, of course, she was still living, very, very old at this particular juncture. And she had a servant named Ishan. I guess that's like a traditional name for a servant in Bengal. And she instructed her servant to worship the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda asked Sachin Mata to give Srila Jiva Goswami, it wasn't Jiva Goswami, Jiva, her blessing so that he can preach Krishna consciousness. Then Lord Nityananda took Jiva Goswami on a tour, the Navadvip Mando Parikrama, as they say. He took him around Navadvip and showed him the places of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. And then he told them, after that was finished, he spent some time, I guess some months with Lord Nityananda. He sent him to Kashi. Now you may say, why should he go to Kashi? Kashi is a place of Mayavadis, but Kashi is also a place where philosophy is studied at a greater depth than practically anywhere else in India. Because these Mayavadis are studying, trying to prove that Brahman is the ultimate goal. But in any case, he was sent to Kashi, but to study under a devotee named Madhusudana Vachaspati. And this Madhusudana Vachaspati was a disciple of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So he studied with this great devotee, and eventually Madhusudana Vachaspati was so amazed at the erudition of his students, he sort of predicted that Srila Jiva Goswami was going to be one of the greatest philosophers of all time, which is actually true. Then he sent him to Vrindavan to be with Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. So when he got to Vrindavan, he was given the service of proofreading Rupa Goswami's literatures, especially the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and he was also given the service of rendering menial service to Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. So this is actually important, as we hear in the Bhagavatam that Brahmachari Gurukule Vasandanta Guroritam Archyan Dasavan Nicho, that the proper training in Krishna consciousness, first of all, the one has to learn that he is a servant, Dasavan, Nicho, and a good behavior. And that's the benefit of association with the Guru, whether it's in a formal Guru Kula situation or whether it's in an informal situation. Still, one has to imbibe that particular spirit of service. So eventually, he accepted Srila Rupa Goswami as his initiating guru. And Rupa Goswami dealt with him, very strictly. Very, very strictly. First of all, he did give him service to the deities. Actually, it was Rupa Goswami who fashioned the Radha Damodar deities that were worshipped by Srila Jiva Goswami. And Srila Jiva Goswami, of course, established eventually the Radha Damodar temple. And there were many pastimes that Jiva Goswami had with Radha Damodar. And this Radha Damodar temple, Prabhupada described as his eternal residence. All the temples in Vrindavan. Actually, the first time Prabhupada went to reside in Vrindavan, Prabhupada was staying at a temple called the Vamshi Gopal Temple, which overlooks the Yamuna. It's a very thin. Has anyone ever been there? Some, maybe. Anyway, it's a very thin temple, and it's right overlooking the sandy banks of the Jamuna. And then Prabhupada moved to Radha Damodar Temple, where he established his rooms, and those rooms are still being taken care of today by the devotees. So, anyway, but Rupa was also extremely strict with him. And there's actually two versions of this story that are told in different literatures, but similar. And one version, there was a Digvijay Pandit. And this Digvijay Pandit, that means a conquering Pandit who wanted to get a Jayapatra. Jayapatra means a certificate of victory, because he would defeat everybody. So anyway, so he went, also Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had confronted this Digvijay too, and he revealed his form to this Digvijay, or the goddess of learning revealed who Lord Chaitanya was. So this Digvijay Pandit, he challenged Rupa Goswami, and Rupa Goswami thought, I'm not going to waste time dealing with this person. So Rupa Goswami just signed the Jayapatra. Okay, you've won. Get out of here. You don't want to, waste so much time argumentation. What's the use of winning anyway and having a certificate? That's a passionate type of attitude, isn't it? Oh, look at my certificate. I won. So Rupa Goswami said this, and then this Digvijay went to Srila Jiva Goswami and showed him the certificate. Jiva Goswami became so incensed that he challenged this Digvijay to a debate, and in 7 days he defeated this Digvijay. And after that, he went to Srila Rupa Goswami and said, I defeated this Digvijay. And Rupa Goswami got really upset with him and said, you were taking sannyas at too young an age. So he banished him to Mathura. And there's a whole other version of the story, but I'm going to complete this version. And so then he was living, some people say, in a hollow of a tree, other people say in a hut, not eating anything. And so eventually Sanatana Goswami met him there. And then he saw Jiva Goswami's position, that Jiva Goswami was as thin as a rail. And practically, it's described in the Bhakti Ratnakara that the wind could have blown him away. I mean, that's a poetic expression, of course. That's how thin he was. So he went back to Rupa Goswami and said, Rupa Goswami, you've forgotten one of the cardinal teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Rupa Goswami said, what cardinal teaching? He's going over Nama Ruchi, Vaishnava Seva, Jiva Doi. Oh, I have to be more compassionate to Jiva. So he brought him back. The other version that I just want to mention real quickly was that this occurred after Jiva Goswami corrected Vallabhacharya. What happened was that Vallabhacharya had read Rupa Goswami's Nectar Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and he said, I can edit it if you want, need some editing. And basically, Jiva Goswami sort of chastised Vallabhacharya for that, and then the whole banishing thing happened after that. So these are the two versions. So, anyway, later on, of course, Rupa and Sanatana Goswami passed away from this world, and Jiva Goswami was understood as the main acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And Jiva Goswami, in dealing with his disciples, seeing that his disciples, many of them were not that mature, he did not teach Parikya Bhav so explicitly. He taught Swakya Bhav. Swakya means that Radha and Krishna are married. And actually, there is a place in the spiritual world where Radha and Krishna are actually married. I was reading this the other day in the works of the Acharyas, that there's a place where they're unmarried, a place where there's married. And actually, eternally, Radha and Krishna are married. You can't separate them. So, anyway, he taught Swakya because his disciples many of them were too immature to understand the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna and the unmarried concept. Because had they thought about that, it could have stimulated their own lusty affairs. Like Prabhupada said one time that if you're not qualified, instead of getting purified, you'll get putrefied. So putrefied means like when you got some old food or something like that and it just like rots. That's called putrefaction. So that's what happens if you try to, or another example Prabhupada gave is like if we try to imitate Hanuman and we want to jump to Lanka or even jump down the stairs or something, we're going to break a lot of bones. Big belly, big monkey, Ceylon jumping melancholy was Prabhupada's poem. So, other pastimes of Srila Jiva Goswami is he was able to cultivate Akbar. Akbar was a very liberal Mughal emperor. And he appeared before, of course, Aurangzeb, who was exactly the opposite. And Akbar was trying to deal with all the different religions and get them to work together. And in fact, he was trying to come up with some sort of religious understanding that everyone could follow. So he would have regular discussions with different religious leaders in the area, not only the Muslims and the Hindus and the Buddhists, like this. So he took Akbar to this place called Nidhiban, which is like the sleeping temple of Radha and Krishna. And he gave Akbar a vision of the way Vrindavan is, or was, when Krishna was present. And Akbar became so impressed that he decided to basically follow Jiva Goswami. Not completely, he didn't surrender as a disciple or anything like that. So later on, Jiva Goswami asked Akbar to make a promise never to go hunting in Braj. So the rest of the place he was allowed to go hunting. And so he impressed him. And also he gave Akbar the instruction to help construct the temples in Vrindavan. So Akbar was very instrumental, along with Mohan Singh, who was a Jaipuri. to help construct many of the temples in Vrindavan. Then, later on, he took care as the instructing guru of Srinivas Acharya, Narottama Das Thakur, and Shaimananda, and instructed them in Krishna consciousness and sent them on the first traveling book distribution Sankirtan mission. And he sent them, of course, back to Bengal with the books of the Goswamis, and that's a famous story, which we're not going to tell right now. But eventually, those books became copied, and these books became widespread in Bengal and other places. Another story about Jiva Goswami was that once upon a time there was a whole debate in Agra. And that's, of course, the seat of the Muslim or Mughal Empire. So there was a debate as to which is more glorious, the Yamuna River or the Ganges River. And Jiva Goswami went there to, I guess, participate in this debate. It would take some time to go there. I mean, now by car, of course, it's about 2 hours, two and a half hours. Sometimes less because of the highway. And he proved that Jamuna was better than the Ganges. How did he prove that? He said because the Yamuna is the consort of Krishna. And actually, we were just reading that. Kalindi, isn't it? Remember in the Bhagavatam? How Kalindi is married to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, anyway, this is basically the history. And so I want to mention some of the books that he composed. Quite a few books. Oh, my God. Okay. Quite a few books. It's not as many as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who we were discussing the other day. So, let's start. Harinam Rita Vyakarna, which is actually a grammar book, teaching grammar using the holy names, using Krishna's holy names to teach grammar, Sanskrit grammar. Sutra Malika Rasamrita Shesha Gopal Viru Davali Shri Madhava Mahotsava Shri Sankalpa Kalpa Vriksha Brahma Sangita, a commentary on the Brahma Sangita, a commentary on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which actually I've been reading a little bit of that commentary, and it's quite dense, quite difficult to understand. So, Ujjala Nilamani commentary, which is called the Lochana Rochani, the Gopal Champu, which we've actually done some recitations of. Gopal Champu has many different details of Krishna's pastimes that are not contained in the Bhagavatam. And then, of course, the Shat Sandarbha, beginning with the Tattva Sandarbha. We're going to describe a little bit about that in a second. Bhagavat Sandarbha, Paramatma Sandarbha, Krishna Sandarbha, Bhakti Sandarbha, and Priti Sandarbha. And then also a commentary, which we actually make reference to in our Bhagavatam class, of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is called the Krama Sandarbha. And actually, all the Sandarbhas are an elaborate commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Maybe not all on specific verses, but it is a commentary, just like the Bhagavatam is a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So the Sandarbhas are an exposition beginning with the Tattva Sandarbha, of course, which teaches us basically epistemology, which means how do you know what you know? Or how do you believe in, or why do you believe in what you believe in? And of course, that Tattva Sandarbha ultimately establishes the Srimad Bhagavatam as the ultimate source of Tattva, or the ultimate source of understanding the truth. So, and then he also wrote his own commentaries on the Sandarbha, the Sat Sandarbha, which is called the Sarva Sambhadani, which is a commentary on his own work, Shat Sundarbha, the Gopal Tapani Tika, which is a commentary on the Upanishad, the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, Padma Puran Ashta Yogaishvara Stotra Tika, commentary on the Gayatri mantra called the Gayatri Vyakya, and taking reference from the Agni Purana. And finally, the Radha Krishnar Charana Chandrika, Dadu Sangraha, and Bhavarta Shuchaka Champu. And those are the listing of the books of Srila Jiva Goswami. So very quickly, we'll go over this, the Sandarbhas. We mentioned already the Tattva Sandarbha. It's also called the Tattva Sandarbha. Tattva Sandarbha, 2 words. And I mentioned it proves that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the ultimate source of knowledge. The second one is called the Bhagavad Sandarbha, which draws a distinction between the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, and describes the spiritual world and the domination of the modes of goodness devoid of contamination, of passion and ignorance, the other 2 modes. There's a discussion about deity worship, the Lord's potencies, the Lord's form. The third Sandarbha, called the Paramatma Sandarbha, in description, obviously, of Paramatma, Supersoul, and how he exists in all the living entities, in everyone's heart, in every atom. Discussions also about the Leela Avatar incarnations, and here we find a description of the Lord's 6 opulences: wealth, strength, beauty, renunciation, fame, knowledge. So, and then the 4th Sandarbha is called the Krishna Sandarbha, and then in this particular Sandarbha, Krishna is proved to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And his discussions are, the pastimes are discussed. There's descriptions of Goloka Vrindavan, Yadavas, coward boys, Dwarka, and finally there's a discussion of Srimati Radharani. And the 5th Sandarbha is called the Bhakti San Sandarbha, and this is a discussion on how to execute devotional service and how the self is manifest through the performance of bhakti. In other words, it's inherent. Sorry about that. And there's a discussion there about the difference between the Mahabhagavat and an ordinary devotee, and Raganuga Bhakti, and a study of other perfectional stages of devotional service. The 6th Sandarbha is called the Priti Sandarbha, which is a thesis of love of God. And there it is stated, through love of God, one becomes perfectly liberated and attains the highest goal of life. And there's a distinction between the personalist understanding, and then it gets into discussions of rasas and the overlapping of rasas. It's called rasabhas, of course, and the different manifestations of the 5 primary rasas and the 7 secondary rasas. And ultimately, he ends with the discussion of the glories of Srimati Radharani. So today we are worshiping Srila Jiva Goswami, and we have 5 more minutes for Jagadish Pandit, whose disappearance day it is also today. Oh, actually, just one thing I wanted to mention. The Jiva Goswami's ontological position is Vilas Manjari in the spiritual world. Manjari, of course, means a young, prepubescent girl who serves Radha and Krishna, or specifically serves Srimati Radharani, and under the jurisdiction of one of the primary gopis in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita about Jagadish Pandit, it's described that Jagadish Pandit was the savior of the world. He was a thundercloud of Krishna prema, who rained showers of mercy upon everyone. And so he actually associated with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him to go to Jagannath Puri to preach Krishna consciousness. And then when he went there, he came back eventually. And he came back with the deity of Lord Jagannath. And it's described that Jagadish Pandit used to carry this deity on a stick with him. It doesn't mention that he was carrying Subhadra or Baladev. It just mentions Jagannath. And his place of residence is a place called Yashoda Grama. And it's described in the Gaura Ganadesh Dipika that Jagadish, as well as his brother's a very important person too, Aranya, were formerly Nagapatnis. Two of the Nagapatnis, that means the wives of the Kaliya serpents. And others' opinions say that he was the dancer named Chandra Has, who used to dance before Krishna, because Jagadish Pandit used to really enjoy dancing before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So one time Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the mercy to Jagadish Pandit's wife, because Jagadish Pandit's wife was always overwhelmed with separation from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave her Gaura Gopal deities. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to her, I shall live eternally in your home in my deity form. So these Gaura Gopal deities are actually being worshipped even now in Yashohara Gram. So, and then the famous story that we've heard many times before, once upon a time when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a little boy, it was Ekadasi, everyone was fasting, and he was crying and demanding an offering from the house of Jagadish and Aranya. And everyone was thinking, why is he saying this? So then they went to the house of Jagadish and Aranya, and they found this offering. And because Jagadish and Aranya were offering grains on Ekadasi, and also a little boy doesn't have to follow Ekadasi, when you're really tiny like that. So, anyway, so they gave him the grains, and everybody was struck with wonder. So it says that after Lord Chaitanya Sannyas, Jagadish and Aranya left Mayapur and went to live in Yashohara Gram again. And every year they would accompany the devotees from Bengal to go to Puri to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was also present at Nityananda Prabhu's Hanihati festival, the Chip Rice festival. So today is Jagadish Pandit's disappearance day. So any questions or comments? Yeah. Yeah, but he went into further depth than that. Like I said, I've been reading his commentary on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That was translated by Banu Maharaj, and it's quite, quite complicated and quite detailed, and difficult to understand. Hey, I have to be honest about it. Difficult to understand with my tiny little brain. And you could see how amazing Jiva Goswami's intelligence and ability was just by reading these. I become overwhelmed with, just with the desire to follow these great personalities. Just, it's overwhelming when you read their writings, because their level of intelligence is so far beyond anything I've ever encountered before. Okay, I think we have to end now.
Kandar ako ikamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Kriya Priti Manti Vasyanti Panti Kayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami 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 Govindam Adi
Tamaham Bhajami. Namaku Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Saminiti Namande Namaste, hey, Twati Jame, Gurvani Bacha, Naked Evasesha, Shunyavadi, Pasachade, Sachana Day. Gurvani Bacha, Naked Evasesha. Radhe Sajadi Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Sari Gaurvata Vrinda Nana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Radha Shiva Sari Gaurvata Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Radha Shiva Sari Gaurvata Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Adolokinana, Radha Adolokinana, Radhe. Jaya Radha, Adolokinana, Radha Adolokinana, Radhe. Jaya Radha, hey, Radhe, 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 Jaya Radhe.